Good afternoon and welcome to What Moves Her, brought to you by Coldwell Banker Advantage, our localized program that unapologetically, that's a nice word, unapologetically shines the light on women in leadership and helps you reach your goals. I am Lori Donofrio. I'm Regional Vice President for our Northern region, and I am so happy to have everyone here. I wanted to introduce everyone or let them introduce themselves. Stacie, do you want to introduce yourself and say where you're from?
Sure. I work out of the Clarksville office. My name is Stacie Kemp. I have been doing this since February.
One of our new agents.
Yep,
and kicking it, by the way. Michelle.
Michelle Wallace, Caldwell Banker Seacoast Advantage in Havelock. And I started in January of 2021.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Mark
Cardillo. I am Caldwell Banker Advantage here in the Triad and High Point office, and I've been doing this since 2019 January.
And Beverly.
I'm Beverly Gentry. I am based out of the Coldwell Banker Advantage Southern Pines office, and I believe this is my 12th year in the business.
Wow.
Yay. We also have some experience on here as well. First, I realized, wait, we have all these new agents or relatively new agents. And you are the first people that we thought of when we were thinking of people who are out there. They don't see themselves as pushy. They just are confident about themselves while managing to not be arrogant. Apparently it's a bad day for me to be on camera because I can't talk. And we are so excited to have each of you and help you share with us how you have managed to get your business going or keep your business going. And one of the things that stops so many of our newer agents and even some of our experienced agents, they are afraid to work with their friends or to be too pushy with their friends. Can you be a top producer and keep your friends? Do you think that that's possible? Anyone?
Yep, I would say absolutely keep your friends. I would say that, I'm just going to speak for myself. I'm not pushy with my friends. To be honest with you, sometimes, as much as I can, I don't even mention real estate. Hopefully that they know that I am in real estate. And if they don't know that, I'm failing in some way, whether it's social media. Just saying that's a big one for me, social media, right? I don't have to say anything to my friends face to face or on the phone. They know I'm in real estate. If they would like to reach out regarding real estate, I know they're going to do it. Every once in a while, I might be like, hey man, you guys happy with your house? Everything good? But nothing to push it. It's just not my style. So
I'm with Mark. That's the way I am too. They know. I post on social media, Facebook, so they know I'm not pushy like that, especially with my friends.
Right.
Because sometimes your friends don't feel comfortable using you as an agent because then they have to provide you information that they may not feel comfortable providing you. And I don't want to strain a relationship over something like that. So
that's a great point.
I think, yes, you absolutely can keep your friends as long as your friends are supportive. I'm with Michelle and Mark and that, everyone wants to talk about real estate, especially over the last couple of years, and everyone has an opinion. And, a lot of times, they feel comfortable because we are friends just to, say it. And, they refer their family and other friends to me because we speak about real estate, and I give them, as if they were a client today. I speak to them just like they were selling their house. What would they need to know? What would they need to think about in the future? So if your friends are supportive, then absolutely, you can still, maintain that friendship and provide, valuable information, to them that they may share with a family member in another state that, needs help or, just to have the information. There's a lot of misinformation going around. So if you can provide that valuable and accurate information, I think it, is a good thing for your friendship.
Absolutely. I actually, I ask my friends about their jobs, the things that they do, and they naturally ask me, hey, how are things are going with you, with your job? And it leads into market questions and all of that. And a couple of my friends actually haven't used me because, everyone knows at least 3 realtors, right? At least 3.
Please.
And so a few of them haven't, and then some of them have and refer other people to me, and they see the things that I post on social media. Apparently some of them see things that I have automated set up through core listing that I don't even know is posting. And then they ask me questions and I'm like, oh, let me quickly look that up. What did I post on Twitter? Because I don't tweet, but apparently I do. So one piece of advice is look and see what you're posting that your friends might follow. Stacie, you're the newest of us. How have you handled this with your friends?
I think that I agree with the overall sentiment that it's best not to be pushy, but make your friends aware of what you do. There are ways to do that without being pushy. Hey, I was out showing houses and just thought about you. You brought up the subject of real estate. You have said that you are thinking of them. You've given them the option to say, I want to speak about real estate or I don't. And I think that's a big, way to kind of segue into that with friendship. And
One thing
that's
I'll
just kind
say,
of how I do it. Yeah.
one thing I'll say as a newer agent, and I feel like I may have been like this as well. I feel like you kind of have a little bit of a excuse to maybe at the beginning be able to say to your friends, hey, guess what? I got my real estate license. I'm in real estate now. So if you guys need to buy or sell a house, please call me. Like do that at the beginning. Not now, of course, but in the beginning, I think you kind of got like a free pass.
Yeah. And I think it's important to ask permission. Would you like to be on my email list, or would you like to be on my, mailing list, or whatever the case is? Or I'd love to send you this Christmas card I'm going to send to my clients, and just kind of keep them relevant, but not, And
if they're good friends of yours, they'll be excited to help you,
Exactly.
I was really excited to see Stacie's new husband's ex-wife use her to list her house.
Yes, that was an experience.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It was. Have you been able to ask for a referral or business from your friends or other people that you know, or did you work up to it?
I'll jump out and answer that with the segue of what you just listed. I actually did call his ex-wife, and ask for that business. I said, hey, I'm aware of your situation and how many children you have in your home. Have you decided, and I also had the background information of she was a veteran, what information is available for veterans. And she was like, I can't, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. And I said, okay, look, let's go step by step. And if we get you approved, then we'll see. And she's like, hey, if you can get me approved, you're hired. Boom. Had the customer in 3 days. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about the rest of you? How are you at asking for referrals?
Yes, I've had to work up to it. Now I have the confidence, before you didn't want to feel like you were being pushy. And like you said, everyone knows at least 3 realtors. And, sometimes people have these relationships that have spanned, many years. And you think, oh, well, why would they use me? They always use. And, I just know and I'm confident in the value that I bring. So now I don't hesitate. If I hear that someone is looking to sell or buy, I approach it, gently, not forcefully, but gently that, hey, I've heard you are in the market. If you have any questions, if you would like for me to meet with you, you may not be ready, but I'll tell you what I know so that, at least you can be informed so that when the time is right, you can do whatever is in your best interest.
Absolutely.
It took me a minute to build up to asking for referrals. I think I needed the experience to have the confidence to ask for the referrals from, especially my friends and family, because they'll be the first ones to call you out. So, So, so I really, I worked really hard my first, the whole first year and a half. But in that time period, building up my experience, built my confidence to be able to talk to them in a way that made me sound like I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
One thing
Mark, I know
with
you.
regards,
Yeah.
with regards to referrals, and this is not necessarily asking the direct person, hey, I heard you might be interested in selling your house, but like if you know anybody that wants to sell by yourself, I don't use this a lot, but if I use it and if you use it, it should definitely be worded very specifically to this wording. It should say, who do you know? Do not say, do you know? Because their answer is, nope, I don't know anybody every single time. And I have tried this with some of my best friends. I won't talk real estate for them for a year. And then I'll say, hey man, who do you know that can use my assistance in any real estate? And man, does their brain start spinning. They're just like, who do I know? Well, I got to know somebody. And then they start finding out people. I actually do know somebody. But if you say, do you know, it's just, nah, I don't know anybody right now. So that's a good one.
That's a good point.
Yeah. You don't want a yes, no question.
Right.
Right.
Right. Open-ended. That is the key to our success, is open-ended questions.
Right.
That make them think. One of the things that I was talking to some new agents about yesterday was just a reminder of, especially is some people might think of you as only a buyer's agent, right? Whenever you get those listings, send them to all your past clients, send them to all of your friends, even if they aren't ever going to find a buyer for that particular listing, just so they think of you as someone who lists. I totally forgot, and Elsa's going to be mad at me. But if you have any questions for our panel, please put them in the chat box, so that we aren't relying on the questions I came up with initially. How much do you think your ability to generate business is mindset, and how much do you think is skill set?
I think 100% of it is mindset and then skill set. So there's
without the mindset, you can't build the skill set. Exactly. Right.
Exactly. Because it takes a lot, especially when you're new, to get up every day, make those calls, do all the showings, take leads from different places where it could be a lot, or it could be, a boat slip, which I didn't even know until someone asked me about it, that we sold as a real estate agent. So, so yeah.
Agree. Mindset is 100% the most important, and your skill set will come with experience. And one of the great things about the Coldwell Banker Advantage, company is that you have connections with those that have the skill sets that you may lack. And it is a very open company, at least in my experience. The agents within my office, even, being in the business as long as I've been in, I've never been in a normal market. I started at the bottom of the market. Foreclosures were new. Short sales were new. I was one of the first people in my office that, jumped in, and that's what we had to work with. But I asked questions, and even being in the business as long as I have been, Kathy LaRose, bless her heart, last year I called her nonstop. And a lot of times it was just to say it, have someone else hear it, and just validate, yes, you're on the right track, or yes, that is a good solution. So that is one very positive thing about our company, is that if you are a newer agent, and even a veteran agent, or someone with the number of years of experience that I have, you have resources of many people that have skill sets that you may lack.
I agree. That's the way we are in our office. So with Seacoast Advantage, it's basically the same thing. Everybody's there to help everybody. And the support you get, and my broker in charge is amazing, because she has a training program set up. So you're not just out there winging it. She puts you through some training before she says, okay, go for it. And that helps a lot. And knowing that you have the resources like Beverly was talking about is important. People share in our companies.
They do. We even share amongst ourselves as managers. I think it's funny, Beverly, you said that, you know, you've never had a normal market. I don't think there's a normal transaction or a normal market in our business. What is normal is that everything is different. Those little blanks on our forms. I mean, we aren't just filling out a form and opening a door, right?
Right.
Every blank changes a transaction, and each person that we deal with changes a transaction. Okay. So being new, how did you get the confidence to just go out there, as a new agent, to just start doing business and know that you were going to be able to complete this transaction, even though you were a newly licensed person?
I'll start. Two things, very important things. One thing you can do as a new agent, you have no excuse not to, is know the forms. Okay. Know the contract documents. You go into your first listing or your first contract and you know those forms, you feel pretty good. You know, I know a lot more than these people I'm helping. That gives you confidence right away. The second thing I can say is always use the word we, as if you're a new agent. We, look at this team I have behind me, Coldwell Banker Advantage. We got your back. We've got all these tools. We. Two big things, I think, for new agents starting out.
I'll go next. I'm a nerd and I like to read. And so what I did was I studied those properties that I was showing. I probably knew them better than the sellers at some point. But that let me feel confident about at least what I was showing. If
Right.
they asked me questions that I couldn't answer, then I was just honest. And, you know, I don't know, but it's a good question and I will find out for you. So studying helped me a lot.
I think for me, I spent a lot of time getting to know some of the agents within Coldwell, establishing kind of a resource circle and, you know, getting to know people, what their strengths were, and, you know, even so much as their availability. If I had a question, I knew who to call about it, you know, and it was pretty easy to form those relationships and quickly be able to, you know, send a text real quick. Hold on, let me grab this, and then get that information, and then you've got it, and then you roll it out with them and everything. So for me, it was a lot of just reaching out to those resources when I had a question. Or like I think Beverly said when she said, you know, sometimes it's just needing to hear it out loud. Like, this is what I'm thinking. Am I on the right track here? I cannot tell you how many times I've called Lori and said, this is the problem. This is what I'm thinking. Am I right or am I off base? And she'll go 100% go ahead. And I'm like, okay, good, great. So it really
use
does
fewer
come down.
words. I
Yeah,
occasionally say
fewer
use
words.
fewer
Like,
words.
cut out all those repeat words and then move forward with that. Yes. So I think that's important.
I agree. When I started, I genuinely have the heart of a helper. I genuinely want to help people, and I always put, you know, my clients' needs first, which is what we should do. But I've been that way from the very beginning, and I was not afraid, you know, like everyone else, to say I don't know, but I will find out. I have the resources. We have the team. We have the knowledge. I have people that I can go to, you know, have these questions answered or bounce ideas off of, brainstorm. And I will tell you, people respect that. I have clients that years later said, you know, Beverly, when you told us you didn't know, and there were several times throughout that one particular transaction that I had to say, I don't know, but I will find out. And I did, and I did so promptly, but they respected that, and it stayed with them, and they mentioned it years later that was one of the things that they liked about working with me, is that it made them trust me, because they knew that if I was telling them something, giving them guidance, that it was coming from a place of, this is truly in their best interest. And it wasn't just me pulling something, out of the air.
Mhm.
That is so very true. We always have to be honest with people. And there are things, I've been in the business, I hate to think about how long it has been, but I've been licensed since 93 and I kind of grew up in the business. There are still things where I don't know. I mean, I've been practicing real estate in this area since 99. I had to say, I don't know to someone the other day. And I'm like, I'll find out. I'm really good at finding things out. That's one of my skill sets things is figuring out the answer, but I don't always know it off the top of my head. And I have to look it up. So besides your friends, there's also what they call conversational prospecting, where you're at a party and you're meeting new people, you're standing in line at the grocery store, the other day I was standing in Target line for, 20 minutes. I had plenty of time to talk to people. How do you meet people outside of your sphere, and how do you evaluate if there's someone who you could add to your list, even though you just met them?
First, I meet people organically, just being out and about. I actually had a client. This is a funny story. I had a client that chose me. They met me in line at Ace Hardware. I was getting a key made, and interestingly enough, there was another agent who was in line behind me, and he and I were talking about a listing I had. And as I was leaving, she stopped me and said, are you a realtor? Do you have a card? And he turned around and said, well, I'm a realtor. I thought, oh my gosh, the shark circling the water. But I went out, I didn't have a card. I went to my car, I came back, I gave her the card, and I walked away thinking, oh, that's kind of yucky. That just kind of made me feel like about our industry. It was like, but anyway, he had to throw his hat in there. But she called me 2 weeks later and she just said, I just like she was like, she just liked my vibe. So, and we ended up closing a transaction, and she's looking to do more. And it was just simply from being in line and talking about real estate and someone overhearing it. And my kids joke with me, but people in the grocery store will stop and ask me questions about the market, and I'll exchange numbers. And, it happened last night, and my kids are like, gosh, you'll just take business anywhere. Like, well,
Pays the bills.
my doctor needs to go to, the grocery store, a realtor needs to go to the grocery store, so anyway, it's interesting. And those relationships I feel are a little bit easier because they do start out organic and there's no pressure. It's them choosing to interact with you because you're a realtor.
Yeah, the only time I ever would push something just, randomly, and I'm like you, Lori, I'm probably, there's times that pass me by every single day where I could have said something to somebody, One thing I was thinking when Beverly was talking is I do, and my company makes fun of me all the time for this, is I try to at least brand somewhere, somehow. And I actually don't have my name tag on. Well, I got a pin on. It's a realtor pin. I have something on, whether it's one of my hats or a jacket or my name tag. And, every once in a while, someone will come up to me, oh, you're real estate. And I'm like, ding, ding. Okay. I'm not starting the conversation, but I'll help you out any way you want to know. I'll add value however you need. But I was watching a podcast, listened to a podcast the other day, and they said, what do you have to lose when you're in the elevator with somebody that you've never met before and you got nothing to say? And I've done it like 3 or 4 times now. I just say, have you bought or sold any real estate recently? And sometimes people are like, what? I'm like, have you bought or sold any real estate? And some people are like, nope. And I'm like, okay, have a good day. And that's it. But sometimes the conversation will go, well, no, what kind of market is? And I'm like, okay, here we go. You got nothing to lose on that elevator speech. So try it out. But as
That's
far as
confident.
Right.
I love it.
I would not do that like in a grocery store or, but I don't know, just I'm in an elevator and it's me and one other person or whatever, no one's saying something, I'm going to say that line just to see what happens.
Well, chances are you're going to run into the folks at the grocery store again. So maybe that's
Maybe they will have thought about it and say, you know what, you remember when you asked me in the elevator?
Right. There you go. I mean, you got nothing to lose. What are they going to, at least you're being nice and you talk to them. So.
Right.
I don't
For
really.
me, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, it's, I've got 3 kids in sports, art classes, what have you. They're, karate, you name it. And kind of like Mark just said, I'm wearing a t-shirt, some kind of, I got a bag, something is on me. I was at, our county just built a new school and I sponsored the first football game dinner. And I was wearing my Stacie Kemp Realtor t-shirt, just minding my business. And the lady beside me who was serving food, she was just like, hey, I was just looking at the market the other day. My husband and I have been talking about, we've been talking about relocating. And I said, oh, are you working with an agent? No, we hadn't gotten that far. Boom, there you go. Just by wearing the t-shirt. So that's the way I prefer to do it, is just organically. I don't wake up and go, where am I going to go today to talk about real estate? I just say, well, what do we have to do today? And then, if I can wear something or, have something, or if someone approaches me that see me on social media, et cetera, then, that's the best way to keep it going for me.
I'm with you. So I'll wear my Caldwell Banker Seacoast Advantage t-shirt to the grocery store. If I've been out showing and I have to stop somewhere, I keep my name tag on. And that's where people, will come up to me. And which is funny because I'm not the person that will just randomly talk to random people. That's very uncomfortable for me. But if they start the conversation, forget about it. I'm just going. You want to hear about the market? I got you.
Absolutely. No secret agents around here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you are making those dreaded phone calls of I'm supposed to call my sphere and I don't have a reason, do you do things like a formula, like the Ford family, occupations, all that kind of stuff? Or do you do something else when you're just picking up the phone and calling someone because you're supposed to, because you're not supposed to let it go 6 years between calling people?
I always try to use the Ford, but I always try to have at least one, even if it's small, reason or purpose for the call. I feel uncomfortable just calling someone and say, hey, how's your family? Unless I really haven't talked to them in a while and I have that relationship with them. If I can just find one small reason, I don't care what it is. Hey, I just passed your street, or I'm in North Winston-Salem. I never come here and I know you live somewhere in Winston. How you doing? Just some kind of reason, not just starting out with Ford, but it's working.
I do the same thing. Same thing. So I'll start with Ford, but then, funny, you don't get through the whole thing. I don't generally get through the whole thing before they turn around and start asking me questions,
right?
If it's going to go down that path. And so, but I'm kind of the same way. And as soon as you ask them about occupation, our natural thing as people is to turn around and ask someone else about their occupation. Well, once they ask me and they find out what I do, that's where the conversation turns organic and they just start kind of talking.
And for people that you call that already know what you do, I'll have many phone calls where real estate doesn't even come up. And that's okay with me. That's totally fine. I mean, that shows them that I'm genuinely care about what's going on in their life. I'm not calling for anything. Like, I'm not trying to buy or sell you nothing. Just tell me how you're doing. Just let them know that you're talking to them. I can still call Mark whenever I need. I've got a point of contact with him. I just talked to him last month. So real estate comes in, they're going to remember you and call you.
You're not the hard sell.
No, gosh.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
How about you, Beverly?
Agree with that. I agree with that. And I'll add social media. I mean, I had a very difficult time accepting friend requests from other agents and past clients. And I thought, well, I mean, I don't really have anything to hide. They want to know who I am. But I had so much information off of that: birthdays, granddaughter's birthday or granddaughter's birth. I mean, first grandbaby in the family, of reasons that I can call and, connect with them, just like Mark said, not real estate related, just, hey, I care about you. I want to maintain this relationship with you. Your family's important to me. And I too, sometimes driving through a neighborhood and think, gosh, I haven't talked to that person in a while, and just call and say, how are you? What is going on? And, and they, like Michelle said, they will oftentimes create the conversation that gives you the information to be able to ask the questions that are important to them. They want to talk about these exciting times, or sometimes it's unfortunate and they're going through a rough and difficult time, but you're there for, all of that. It's, I think people see through the scripted questions. So if
For
you're
sure.
so if you're genuine, they know, oh gosh, that was the Beverly just called me, and that was so sweet of her. A lot of people send me text messages, just made my day, and I worked with them 4 years ago, but I do care. We're in a relationship built business, and those relationships are wildly important.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I still use in my conversations with people, even with those cold calls where I'm just trying to maintain my relationships, kind of an excuse to maintain my relationships with the people who matter most to me, even though I'm so very busy with so many other things. Is kind of how I keep myself connected to the people that I care about. And I use the same theories that I do for social media. I don't post everything about real estate. Right. I post about my kids. I post about my husband, my parents, whatever it is that I'm posting about. And I do some real estate. When I'm having a conversation, sometimes I have conversations about real estate and sometimes I don't. But often, like the rest of you, they bring it up as much. But I also have some discovery questions when I'm talking with them, where I'm trying to find those pain points of, is their family growing? Is their family shrinking? Do they have too much house? Do they like their neighbors, or do they not like their neighbors? One of our new agents yesterday talked to someone literally closed like 6 months ago, who she's now going to get to list that house because she doesn't like any of her new neighbors. Where she hadn't called to check on them and ask her how she liked her neighbors, she wouldn't know. And you hate that question, but now she's getting another sale out of it, and very, very soon. So do you guys have any discovery questions that you use when you're talking, just to find out about those pain points that might lead to a transaction?
Well, for people who I don't know necessarily, I'll ask them, because I live where I live in Havelock, which is near Marine Corps Air Base Cherry Point. The first question I ask is, are you from this area? And then I'll let them know I've lived here for 6 years. I moved down here, and then I'll ask them, do you work on the base? Because that then gets them talking about, if they are actually military personnel, if they're veterans, if they're civilian employees, do they work somewhere else? And then that kind of then translates into a conversation about real estate, because then I can ask, well, do you live on base? Do you live off base? How's it going? So I use those kinds of questions when I don't know the people.
That's great. How about the rest of you?
I don't really have any, to be honest with you.
That's cool.
If it comes up, I can kind of tell, but I don't think I've ever gone into a phone call saying I got to ask this question to see, what I can dig out. And that's probably a mistake on my part. I could probably get a little bit more information and maybe, work that a little bit, but I have not.
do as part of my, follow-up, 30, 60, 90 days out, especially folks that are new to the area, just ask them, how are you liking the neighborhood? Is it, are the amenities what you expected? What about these restaurants? And, so I do ask those questions. And interestingly enough, like you said, I've had several people that had been in their home less than 6 months, and they were ready to go. The county was just too small. They wanted to be in a bigger market. There wasn't enough for them to do with small children. Some other folks, they felt like that wasn't the neighborhood for them for whatever reason. And so it is important to follow up just to see, do they like where they're living? I mean, do they feel like they made a good decision, and are they happy with it?
I definitely do follow up with sellers and buyers all the time. I mean, it's mainly buyers, and that should be a no-brainer. You just spent 45 days like calling these people every other day. And at the closing table, I'm normally like, I'm sure you guys think our relationship is about to end today, but it's just starting today. You will be hearing from me 3 or 4 times within the next month. Then I'll check in on you, every month. How's the house? How's everything going? I think that's an absolute necessity, and that breeds more business for you and adds more value to that client that you just develop that tight relationship with. So that is good.
Yeah, I also think
agree.
if you have the ability to remember things about your clients, like, oh, we're going to remodel this bathroom, or we're buying a total fixer upper, that'd be a great segue in the conversation. Hey, how's that going? Do you have any, pictures to, I mean, I do that with my investment people, or, people who are buying fixer uppers to get their dream home. Hey, did you guys finish that kitchen? Do you have any photos? I mean, I get photos, videos, it kind of brings the conversation up.
That's
again
golden.
after the
I got a
transaction.
message earlier from a client that said, sent a picture of their reno, and I just texted them back, I'm coming soon to see it. Didn't ask me. They said, I'm coming up.
Fantastic.
And
I actually got a
great.
text from someone I did not represent in a home that they bought that I had listed, and they had reached out and gotten my number and said, hey, you guys, can you please share this with your sellers? And I thought that was great, and that was a great door that got opened. So
Sure.
I think the important thing is to be personal with people. They're going through a huge process, whether it's buying or selling. It means a lot to them, and they're stressed out. And I think, showing them your personal side and letting them know you can call me after closing. I have people call me all the time. I got an invitation from someone I sold a house to this year for their Christmas open house, so, I agree with you, Mark. It's important to do that, so they know it's not a one and done.
Right.
We're building a relationship, a lasting, long relationship.
Where they keep calling us over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of comments in the chat that are, I think, segue into really well, in that, how are you keeping up with all of this? Whether they have the reno, whether they have things, because you don't just have one person you're working with, right? Hopefully. So do you have a CRM that you're using? And then I'll ask Marcel this question after that.
I do. I use Top Producer, but they changed it, the formats, I guess it was last year, and I've really struggled with the new format. Frankly, I liked the old format before, because it was a dashboard that, you could automatically set up your plans. So it would remind you, you log in and, there you go. Oh, yes, if you don't already remember, yes, I need to check back in. And once you do reconnect with those clients, making a note in there and then setting another reminder to, and that's very helpful. That's one of the features and it may be that I just don't know how to get that feature in the new platform. You can toggle between the old version and the new version, but that's very time consuming. But that is one thing that has helped me significantly in maintaining those relationships, just having those kind of reminders, and I also try to follow the, what is it, 554, to reach out to 5 people that try to reach out to 5 people that you don't know. So I don't do that as often as I should, but in periods like over the last year where I've had more time on my hands, I'm getting back into that. And that is helpful too, because it forces you, okay, who are 5 people that I can call today? And you don't think 5 people is a lot, but you can go through your database, pretty quickly and start thinking, well, I just called them 2 months ago. So let me give them a little while. We'll just maybe call 7 people that we don't know and introduce ourselves. But that's something that is helpful to me.
I use Brivity. So it's a CRM and my website is through it. And I really like it. It's similar, if you guys know Boomtown, it's similar to that. But Beverly, I hear what you're saying, because it does provide me the opportunity to put in notes. And to Stacie's point, remembering all of these things when you have multiple clients is really hard. So even if I just scribble it on a sticky note, when I get back in front of my computer, I'm putting it into the CRM because I am not going to remember it. So, but that's what I use.
CRMs are a must. If you're a new agent, you don't have one, start it now. It's just life support for your business. And you got to have it for whatever you need: reminders, calls, birthdays, anniversaries, house anniversaries. All kinds of stuff.
Just the people that you work with.
Right. Just your clients. There's, and then after you should, at the absolute minimum for your clients, you should be talking to them once a year on their anniversary with a phone call or something. That's the easiest thing you can possibly do. Mm-hmm. Happy anniversary. We sold your house 3 years ago. Can you believe it? Talk to them for a little bit.
Yeah, send them a card. Handwritten card. They love those. People love receiving messages like that are handwritten, because that's a personal thing. That's not spit out on a computer. It's not an email that could have been going to multiple other people. And if you include in the note something that is definite for them, it's not difficult to do. Yeah.
If you want to stand out for birthdays, stop just messaging on people's walls, happy birthday. They got 152 other people that just did that. Yeah. You want to take it one level up, you can go to Messenger. That's a little bit more private. I was doing that for 2 years. I did that. And now I do a video message. You're probably like, oh, I don't want to take video. Just do it. They like seeing it. Like, holy crap, Mark, I've never gotten a virtual video birthday message. There you go. So
that's a great idea. I'm stealing that.
Yeah, it's good. And it's easy.
I just text them.
To write a card. Texting's better too, or a phone call. That would be your reason for that call, right? Then you forward and how's life, blah, 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 but happy birthday.
So I was one of the original top producer people. I actually had that little 3.5-inch floppy disk. Again, I've been in this business a really long time. And change is hard. Every time they change a CRM, especially when it's your daily lifeblood, it's so very hard. But I was really excited on the one that I wanted to use. But since I'm company, I had to use what our company uses. But Cole Banker introduced Moxie. And I love Moxie. I absolutely love Moxie.
That's what I use.
And it gives me 5 people I'm supposed to talk to every day. It just randomly assigns them to me. And I'm like, okay, now I have my 5 randomly assigned people that I'm supposed to call today. And so that works really well. It looks like Kathy LaRose also uses Top Producer. AC, are you just using what we told you to use?
Moxie.
Okay, cool.
I'm a Moxie.
We're using
girl.
it. That's what matters. So Marcella asked the question of, she thought she had a friendship going and then they opted out of her communication in her CRM. Now what? I have an answer, but do any of you have an answer? Okay, so mine now what? Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say tread lightly. Maybe she didn't like the spam emails. Maybe don't get too hurt over it. Could be nothing, right? So maybe lay off
I
for a
agree.
minute, you know?
Yeah.
I use it as an excuse to call,
There you go.
Mhm.
right?
I use it as an
Hey,
excuse to text.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. You know, there you go.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and did you not like that one email? Or do you not like all of the emails? Are you just trying to keep your inbox clean? Are we not friends anymore? And I laugh and they laugh, kind of thing. And and the answers are different every single time. And it's almost always though that they just get too much. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
totally get that. You should see my inbox.
Mhm.
But I use it as a reason to reach out to them. So it kind of has the exact opposite effect of opting out when you opt out of my house.
That's awesome.
So one of the most common questions that we get, whether it's a friend, whether it's the person we're standing next to wherever at a sport or event, like I had the question yesterday while standing in volleyball practice. How's the market today? Like it seems to be ever shifting. How do you answer that question? And then how do you use it to get to their why? Or do you try to get to their why? They're asking that question, or it could be just they're being polite or just curious, but what do you see with that? What do you do?
Respond with a question, and
Exactly.
that is, what have you heard? What have you heard? What are you most interested in knowing? Because I could dive into, you
Yeah.
know, and just go on and on and on. And they may have something very specific. I mean, they may be looking for an investment property. They may be
Mhm.
looking for a
Mhm.
flip. They may be looking for, they may just be seeking knowledge. But I always ask the question, well, what have you heard? And then that helps me formulate my response to them, and giving them the information that they're truly seeking.
Mhm.
They don't necessarily want to know that we have X number of homes on the market and 50% of those are pending and they're in this price range. And, they may have a very specific question. So I just answer with a question.
Yeah, saying which market automatically is like to them, whoa, okay, I didn't know there was a
Yeah.
couple markets. And now all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like their advisor. Well, let me tell you, here's this market. So that's great.
Yep. What
Yeah.
I do is, are you talking about nationally or are you talking about locally? Because again, to Mark's point, they don't know that there's a difference.
Yeah, I think they don't
And-
realize the layers of the question they're asking there.
Mhm.
Are you interested in buying, selling, investing, renting? And then they're like, wait, hold on. What am I interested in? Or actually, I'm glad you asked. And then it rolls out and you've immediately got their why.
Yep.
Thank you so very much. That's great. So the uncomfortable thing, someone stiffens up when you mention, oh, what do you do? I'm a realtor. Oh, what do you do? How do you handle that?
You never answer their question like that, because that's a yes, no thing, right? Someone says, what
Yep.
do you do? You don't say, I'm in real estate. Cool. Where did that conversation go? So this is like another one of those things that you need to have a line that you say, kind of like the elevator speech. So when someone asks me, what do you do for a living, or what do you do? I say, try to make it exciting. Say something that will ask them or make them intrigued about what you said. So my line is, I successfully help people buy or sell their house so we can go out and find their dream home. And now all of a sudden they're like, that's pretty cool. All right, tell me about this, tell me about that. But if you just stop it with, I'm a realtor, it's kind of like someone you
I
say
think with
someone.
some people,
Go
I
ahead.
think you're right. I think some people automatically shut down
Right.
because in some areas and because of some folks, people look at real estate agents as almost like used car salespeople.
Mhm.
And so I tell people I help people buy and sell homes. I help people because that's what I want them to hear, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I help people.
Yeah. Anything further than just tell them you're a realtor. That'd be like you talking to someone and, asking them what they do, and they're saying, oh, I'm in insurance. if someone said it to me, I'd be like, sweet, man, let's talk about something different, you know? That sounds terrible. So yeah, think about that because it happens often. And I have found myself at a loss for a split second, and I'll just throw out, I'm in real estate. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you just did exactly what you're not supposed to do. And then I watch it unfold right in front of me. I'm like, the topic just got changed. That's why we don't say that. So
Practice makes perfect. Let's just keep trying again and again.
Mhm.
I think, Mark, we've all been in that position where we've answered it that way and thought, should
Yeah.
not have done that. That is not the right thing to say. And
Yeah.
it is hard because sometimes you feel like, oh, well, how do I say it? You know, that it doesn't, you know, sound cheesy. And I suppose it's who is asking. And, you know, sometimes you have those very like straight laced, you know, super serious folks. And, you know, for those folks, I respond, I'm a trusted advisor helping folks navigate the real estate market to successfully accomplish their goals. And,
Perfect.
you know, yeah. And then other folks, then like, you know, what don't I do? You know, like I'm a jack of all trades and, you know, in real estate and, you know, and it's just, it's a funnier, you know, more humorous and, you know, it's, you know, just being relatable, you know, to those folks that, you know, are not as, you know, they don't want a, you know, trusted advisor navigating. They're like, you know, what don't I do? I'm a jack of all trades and navigating, you know, crazy real estate and, you know, so much fun and, you know, like, so.
How do you make people feel comfortable when you're asking for their business or guiding their decision making?
Be yourself. I don't try to
100%.
make people do anything. I'm just as real as I can possibly be. Most of my clients and people I work with sphere know that, you know, I'm not going to be all bubbly. Oh, you know, you do this, do that. Like, I'm just going to tell you the truth. That's what you need to do. You know who I am. Just be yourself. That's the biggest thing.
I think too, listen, validate what they're saying, support what you're saying, you know, with stats and data so that they understand where it's coming from and it isn't simply your opinion. You're showing them you're formulating your opinion based on market data relative to their specific situation. And just asking questions along the way. Does this, you know, does this sound okay? After we've reviewed this, or I know there's a lot of information here, is there any part of this that, you know, you'd like for me to dive deeper into, or, you know, are we good to continue? So validating, asking questions, listening, that is the biggest thing. A lot of times, you know, if there's silence, especially, I know I'm guilty of it. I like to fill the gap and I have to just hush and listen. And they'll tell me what I need to know in most cases.
And I think going back to what you were saying earlier too about asking questions, because when you get to that point where they're starting to feel uncomfortable, if they're stressed out because of the transaction, you know, getting their input instead of just talking to them or talking at them, really making the conversation worthwhile and what is of importance to them, not what I think is important about what's going on or what I know is more important about what's going on, but dealing with the issue that they have at the time and identifying that I think is critical.
I think that's a great point. And to your point of asking questions, you know, sometimes at the beginning, just saying, are there any things about this process that you have had reservations about, or things that were intimidating to you, questions that you have up front? A lot of them, you know, they are intimidated by the entire process and they, you know, they're waiting for that opening. And if you give that to them up front and show them, like, I do care about what you are thinking and feeling here, and this is an okay place to talk about that. You can, you know, ask me these questions. This is not all sign here, goodbye. You know, then they begin to feel more comfortable.
Those are all fabulous. And I want to kind of piggyback off of one thing that Beverly said and one thing Mark said at the very beginning, where Mark had said, know your contracts cold. You need to know your data cold in a shifting market. Like you need to know it. You need to know if there's a couple of neighborhoods that are really going slow. You need to know all of your past clients. You need to know how those ones are doing. Do the real estate reviews for yourself as much as for them. Because when you get into those pricing conversations right now, that's the uncomfortable conversation that is probably the most like, but I could have gotten this 9 months ago. That's awesome. It's not 9 months ago. Right.
Yeah.
And you have to be confident in that. And the only way to really be confident is to know it and to know it really well. That's one of the reasons with new agents, we're like, you got to go check out the neighborhoods. You need to go look at the stuff. You need to research things because you don't have the experience, but you still have the resources to know the data. So when you're having a conversation with someone and it isn't about real estate, do you ever up that ante and bring it about real estate? Particularly when, like right now, most of us are too slow, right? We're not as busy as we were 6 months, a year ago. And so we need to have those real estate conversations with people, even if they weren't thinking about it, because we need more listings and we need more buyers to have those transactions. How do you help move the conversation that way? Or are you still waiting?
I don't really.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't really push it in any kind of way. I respond to their questions. I give them information. But if it's not going in that direction, then I don't push it because they know who I am. They know what I do. They know that I'm willing to help and educate them. And so if it at some point in the future comes to that type of conversation, or if we run into each other again, you know, I try not to push it. I'm not that person, which maybe makes me a bad agent, but I've done pretty well and I don't like to do it that way. It makes me uncomfortable and I have to be confident in what I'm doing. And so that's why I choose to just be me.
Well, that's what we should be.
For me personally, if I'm speaking with someone, you know, if it's a friend or a family member or even, you know, a past client, the topic of real estate generally comes up, you know, on its own. And rather than being, you know, oh, let me, you know, dive in and, you know, find a solution that you don't know you need, I'll just throw out, you know, hey, this is something to think about. You know, did you know that we are now doing this? Did you know that, you know, you could do this? I mean, but you know, these are some changes and some differences, just something to think about and just plant the seed. And if they, you know, if they need more information and they're actively looking for that, but they may take that information to someone that they know that you're not aware of and say, hey, you know, by the way, did you know that this is happening again? You know, we're negotiating closing costs. Did you know, you can buy your rate down? Did you know, did you know? So things that you're just providing value. And I feel like what Michelle is saying too is, you know, she doesn't ever, I'm the same way. I don't want to, you know, be forceful, but I also don't want to miss an opportunity. So just always trying to provide value and hoping that they will, if they give me information like, yes, you know, maybe we should talk more about this in a month or so. Then, hey, I'm putting that in my database and I'm following up in a month or so. But if not, at least I've provided some value. I've given them something to think about.
Mm-hmm. I'll go so far as to say, okay, well, why don't you give me your email address? I'll send you a market report. You look it over, see if that's useful for you. And, you know, and then that way I have their contact information that is now in my CRM. And then, you know, I kind of go from there. Sometimes people don't know what they need.
My so-called pushing is not really going to be done in a conversation or person to person. Again, same as Michelle, not my style. However, if I feel like they maybe they need a push. Okay. I just had this happen the other day where the client told me face to face, after we closed. Mark, we wouldn't have bought that house had you not messaged us. I mean, I found a house, been on the market for a while. They liked it. It was sitting, price drop. I reached out to them, and they were good friends of mine, really good friends of mine. And I said, you know, you got a shot at this. If you could probably lowball them a little bit more than you're used to 6 months ago, do you want to take a shot? What do you have to lose? Got the house. Didn't even really negotiate, and they got the house. So I'm careful with how I push. It also might be an additional follow-up, right? It might be, okay, you know what? I'm not going to push, but I am going to text them next week, or I might give them a call next week and just say, hey, did you see this one that just came up? Or, hey, you know, to Beverly's point about the interest rates, like if someone's talking, yeah, but the interest rates are so high. That's a good time for me to tell you, you know, you can pretty much buy a house and be paying the same mortgage level here, because you can negotiate, still pay closing costs. You can buy down the rate. You know, you can do all these things that they have no idea about. All they see is that rate at 6 or 7. They're like, nope, not buying. That's where you can jump in and kind of, I wouldn't even call that push. I'd just say add value to them.
That's great. So we're actually out of time because you all have been fabulous. So I have one little follow-up. I hope Stacie doesn't mind. So I would also listen. So when we had Ruth Seeley on here from Red Hat, she said she bought a house on a random Tuesday. It's because I was listening. She had a need. I found a house that fit the need. I called her, I showed her, she bought it. Right. So it's listening to what their needs are that may not be, they're asking, I need to go buy a house, but it still might be a need where buying a house would fix it.
Yeah.
So that Elsa's not mad at me again. Our next session is at the Fusion. We're going to have another panel on competitive edge, talking about market knowledge, resources, and mindset, because mindset really matters. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much to our panelists. We really appreciate you and your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all.
See ya.
Bye, y'all.